Welcome, welcome. In today's English lesson, we are going to talk about how you can talk about age in English. Age and generations. We'll talk about toddlers. We'll talk about minors. We'll talk about infants. We'll talk about seniors. We'll talk about what a midlife crisis is. So if that sounds interesting to you, we will probably be here for about 1 hour. I have 25, 26 different terms for you, and all of them have something to do with age. So let's start off with the youngest stages here, birth to childhood. First thing I would like to teach you is what an infant is and how that is different from a toddler. And for each of these terms, I will have the official definition and I will use it in a sentence, maybe two. And at the end of this lesson, I will have a couple questions for you to see how much you remembered. Maybe you want to watch this English lesson 2 or 3 times. But an infant is a baby under 1 year old. So this infant is not talking yet. They're not walking yet. The infant is sleeping in the crib. You can see that infant is in his or her mother's arms. A crib, by the way, is what babies sleep in. It's a bed with like some protection around it so the baby will not roll off the side and fall to the floor. That would be really bad. So most parents will put their infants in a crib, and then one day they might graduate to a big boy bed or a big girl bed. At least that's what we called it in my family. So we also have a toddler. Now they are different. They are a little bit older and they are probably talking a little bit and they're probably trying to walk a little bit, but they might be toddling when they walk. If someone is toddling, they're not quite balanced. They might be rocking back and forth. But a toddler is a child, excuse me, is a child between 1 and 3 years old. The toddler is learning how to walk. So a big shout out to anyone who might be watching us live. I don't think there are too many people here right now. 10? 10 people? But welcome. How do I find the comments? Right here. All right, Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire is in the house. Welcome, welcome. I think India is in the house. Welcome. And if you are just joining us, we are talking about different ways to talk about age in English. And we just talked about toddler. So now let's talk about a minor. Now, this person is a person who is under 18 years of age. If they're not a minor, they are an adult. And you can see in that picture, no person under 21 allowed. So minors are under 18. They're not quite adults yet. But recently in the United States, if you want to drink alcohol or smoke tobacco, some adults can't do that because you have to be 21 to be able to do those types of things. So a minor is a person, not an adult. They are under 18 years of age. He is a minor, so he can't vote. Now, at age 18 in the United States, people can vote. You are officially an adult at 18. Under 18, you are a minor, but about the only really good thing you can do once you turn 18 is vote. I have a sentence that uses minors. Minors are not allowed to buy alcohol or tobacco in the United States. And I think in England, They just reduced the voting age to 16. I don't see the United States doing that anytime soon, if ever, but the UK just did that. The opposite of a minor is an adult. Let's talk about adolescent. Adolescent. All adolescents are minors. And this is a person between 12 and 18 years old. We're also going to talk about another thing you can call them, teenagers, but adolescents are between 12 and 18 years of age. Adolescents often go through many changes in school and life. I'm not sure about you, but my adolescent years were not great years, at least at the beginning. 12, 13, 14. I think those are some of the most difficult years in all of life, the adolescent years. But you can also have teenagers, and some of these ages overlap. So between 13 and 19, we would call them teenagers. So even a 19-year-old is considered a teenager, even though they are an adult. So 13, 14, notice all of those numbers end with teen. So someone who is 13 to 19 years old. Teenagers often enjoy hanging out with friends. And in the picture, I picked a picture where I think everyone there is a teenager. I don't know. I'm getting older. I'm almost 50, so I don't know. They look like teenagers to me. Let's check the chat, see if anything is going on. 16 people are watching us live. Welcome to everyone watching us either on Facebook or YouTube. And hello to anyone watching on replay. Right? Lydia, welcome. Welcome. Vietnam is in the house. No, I'm real. I am live right now. Freddie Wolf is here. Welcome. Freddie Wolf from France. He has been a long time member on the other channel. Thank you so much, Freddie. Yep, live. It's been a while. I don't usually go live, but as I was developing this lesson for age and generations, I thought this might be a good one to do live. Hopefully you like it. Please let me know. Do you like these live lessons? Maybe I will try to do more. It would be great if I did one at the same time every week, but hey, Jose is here. Welcome, Jose. Welcome. We were talking about teenagers and how they are almost the same as adolescents. The next one, though, are peers. And this could happen at any age. You could have a peer at any age. That is just someone who is about the same age as you. Kids often feel pressure from their peers, and in English we call that peer pressure. For example, if someone is maybe 13 or 14 and other 13 and 14-year-olds around them are drinking alcohol, their friends might say, hey, you should try to drink this. That would be considered peer pressure. Other people your same age are trying to get you to do something, and teenagers often have trouble saying no to peer pressure. All right, now we're getting into young adulthood. No longer minors, no longer children. These are people probably in their 20s. So a young adult, we have that term in English. A young adult is a person who is in their late teens. Remember, over 18, you are an official adult. You are no longer a minor, but a young adult might also be in their early 20s or so. As a young adult, she moved out and started college. a very difficult time to be a young adult, at least here in the United States. A lot of times when people are ending that young adulthood, maybe they are in their late 20s, a lot of people at that stage of life would like to buy a house. But over the last 10 years or so, houses have become really expensive here in the United States, but I also think that is true for most of the world. Let's talk about this mature versus immature. Mature can happen at any age. And that means acting like an adult. So you can have some very young kids, but they might be mature. They might almost act like an adult. She is only 15, but very mature. You can have a couple people here in this picture. This woman with the gray hair, I'm sure she is very mature, but also, hey, her granddaughter might be very mature. Instead of hanging out with her friends on Saturday night, maybe she wants to hang out with her grandmother every once in a while. That would be considered mature. But immature is the opposite. That is when you don't act your age. That is a term we have in English. If somebody is being immature, we might say, hey, act your age. Immature means not acting like an adult. He is 18, but he still acts immature sometimes. Hey, who doesn't, right? If somebody is maybe 6 or 7 years old, but they still talk like a baby, we might say, oh, they are being a little immature. It's not always a bad thing, though. It looks like this young adult, maybe, could be an older teenager, is playing around with someone who is younger, but they are putting vegetables on their eyes. That would definitely be something that is immature, but hey, sometimes it's fun to act immature every so often. Next, we have an English phrasal verb, to grow up. Maybe this is review, but it means to become older or more mature. I grew up in a small town. Yeah, and that's actually true for me. When I was a little kid, I lived in a small town. I think I've always lived in a small town, but I grew up. That's past tense. I grew up in a small town. Take a look at this little boy here. It looks like he is dreaming of being a firefighter when he grows up. Not a bad profession, right? How about this sentence for this picture? When I grow up, I want to be a firefighter. Hey, we have 22 people watching. I would like to say hello to anyone who has joined us recently. Okay, Jose is from Colombia. Welcome. Colombia is in the house. Freddie Wolf says he was a teenager so many years ago. Freddie, I know how you feel. What? Mas, watching from Kashmir. I was in India last week, about, 9 days ago. I was in India. I did not make it up to Kashmir, but last night I was watching a video about some of the biggest events in the world. And I know in 2005, there was a major earthquake in Kashmir. Very, very sad, but I'm glad you are watching from Kashmir. It's morning where I live, so it's about 12 and a half hours later in India, or Kashmir. I don't want to get too political. Kashmir. I won't say it. Well, maybe Kashmir needs to become its own country. I don't know. Maybe join Kashmir. Beautiful part of the world. I hope all is well. All right. The Philippines in the house. Welcome, Kim. Good to see you. What is this? Sir, may I? Why you chose Portland? Portland to live in? That is, I guess, where my parents moved when I was just an infant. Yeah, I was born in the state of Vermont, but my parents moved to the state of Maine. Portland is the largest city in my state. Very small state. 1 million, but the weather is nice here. It's pretty safe. Ecuador is in the house. Welcome, welcome. Toronto. It's great to see where everyone is watching from. Thank you for sharing. And Sri Lanka, the pearl of the Indian Ocean. Welcome. Maybe you live in Colombo or Kandy. Welcome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me live. I know life is busy. I know there are a lot of English teachers out there who are very good, but you chose me. Thank you so much. Let's continue. Generation. Let's talk about what a generation is. And then we are going to talk about a couple names we have in English for generations. Generations. Remember when we talked about peers earlier? These are people who are about your age. Well, a generation is like a whole group of peers. Peers are usually 1, 2, 3 people, but a generation is everyone around the world who is the same age as you. Official definition: a group of people born around the same time, like maybe within 10 years or so. That would be a generation. My grandparents are from a different generation. And later on, we are going to talk about what a generation gap is. But let's first talk about a couple names we have for generations. Millennials. Millennials. These are people born between 1981 and 1996. Many millennials grew up with the internet. So if you were born in 81, you were a teenager probably when you first got on the internet. But if you were born in 1996, it's very possible the world knew about the internet for your entire life. Now, my brother was born in 1981. He does not want to be called a millennial. I was born in 1975. So if you were born around my time, you would be Generation X in English, Generation X. And to be honest, a lot of people think Generation X is better than millennials, at least people in my generation. But hey, if you are a millennial, welcome. Let me know. Are you a millennial? Sometimes people say bad things about millennials, but hey, they're all right with me. Gen Z. This is the younger generation from millennial. Gen Z. These are people born between 1997 and the early 2010s. Gen Z or Generation Z. Gen Z uses social media every day. I think Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, I think we all use social media every day. What about a generation gap? This can get a little tricky for some people. If you were born in a different generation, you might think the younger generation or the older generation does things wrong. Generation gap. The difference in ideas between younger and older people. There's a big generation gap between me and my grandpa. So in the picture, we have what looks like probably a granddaughter, maybe a grandson. I can't know, probably a granddaughter with their grandfather. And there would be quite a generation gap there, but it looks like they are happy. It does not look like they have any kind of conflict. But maybe when the grandfather is working with technology, the granddaughter might get frustrated. She might say, "What, Granddad, why can't you work the remote control for the TV? Why can't you check your email?" So a lot of times older people aren't as good with technology as younger people. Or maybe older people think the younger generation doesn't wear enough clothing, or they listen to the wrong music. That is a couple examples of a generation gap. Now, let's talk a little bit about adulthood and middle age. So, as I am about to turn 50 in a couple months, most people would call people my age, my peers, we would be middle aged. Middle age. This is someone who is about 40 to 60 years old. My dad is middle aged and still plays soccer. So hopefully, people who are middle aged today look younger than people who were middle aged 20 years ago. I have heard people are looking younger for longer. And some people say it's because my peers, my generation, we don't smoke as much as the older generations. We maybe stay out of the sun a little more, so we don't have as many wrinkles, and maybe we don't smoke. No, I said smoke already. Maybe we don't drink as much alcohol as the older generation. Maybe we're more active. I don't know. I would like to think so. Middle aged. On that note, let's take a look at some comments. Argentina, welcome. Welcome. Hello. Afghanistan is in the house. So I am on summer break. But when I go back to my classroom, I have 3, 4, 5 students, I think, who were born in Afghanistan. Kabul. I know 3 or 4 were born in Kabul, and I think another student was born in Bamyan, I believe. Hello. Welcome. All right, Shams. Thank you so much. And Lebanon. I do have some students who lived in Lebanon for a while, but they were born in Syria. And now they live here in the United States. So maybe you live in Beirut. I don't know. That's the only town I think I know in Lebanon. All right, India. India is in the house. I mentioned earlier, I was in Delhi for about 9 days a week ago. If you look at my other YouTube channel, American English with Brent, I have 3 English lessons from India already. And I think I have two more to release. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Also, if you would like me to be your speaking partner, it is possible. If you want to check the link, there is a link somewhere. I can't see it right now, but it is, if you are watching on YouTube, in the description and in the comments is a link. If you would like to have a one-on-one conversation with me, it is possible. It does cost some money, but I will record that lesson and then I can send it to you after and you can watch that over and over. I definitely think it will help you with your speaking. If you have trouble finding a speaking partner, I can be that speaking partner. I have a lot of repeat customers. In fact, most of my students sign up. They will sign up again. Oh boy. I hope I do not have a midlife crisis. I'm about that age though. Between 40 and 50, a lot of people have a midlife crisis. That is a time around 40 or 50 when people question their life choices. Like they can see death is in the future, hopefully 20, 25 years, but they're questioning, did I do enough with my life? A very cliche thing for men who are having a midlife crisis is to buy a sports car, to buy a very flashy, fast car that is pretty cliche. That's a midlife crisis. During his midlife crisis, he bought a sports car. I don't think I've had one of those yet. I hope I never do. A midlife crisis. I asked on my YouTube channel and Instagram, do you know this idiom, over the hill? And I was surprised. About 50% of the people who took that poll did not know. So maybe this is new for you. Over the hill. It is a funny way to say someone is getting old. And you can see this person. I mean, they are walking over a hill. What do they have? 2 canes? I did ask AI to draw this. I think they did a pretty good job. Looks like an old man. He is going over a hill, but because it's an idiom, it has nothing to do with an actual hill. It just means that person is getting old. He turned 40 and joked that he was over the hill. Please let me know in the comments, do you feel over the hill? And if you would like to tell us your age, that would be great. I will go first. I turn 50 in 3 months, but I do not feel over the hill. Not yet. I don't feel that old. I still go for walks. Yeah, I still get up in the morning. I don't hurt too badly. I know that time is coming, but let's check the chat. Does anybody in the chat feel like they are over the hill? Okay. So the south side of India. All right. Thank you for sharing. Oh, Jose says it's an interesting topic. Over the hill. Let me give it a couple minutes. Maybe people are still writing out their answers, or maybe they don't want to talk about being over the hill. It could be embarrassing. Happy late birthday. Oh, my birthday is in a couple months. So it's a little early, but thank you, Jen. Thank you so much. All right, let's get back to the lesson. I'll check on the people who think they might be over the hill in a minute. But let's talk about what a senior is. Well, if you take a look at the picture, I think that will give you a pretty good idea. Sometimes you might also hear senior citizen, but a senior is an older person, usually over 65. Seniors get discounts at the movie theater. Seniors are also probably able to retire. We will talk about retire in just a minute. Senior citizens are over 65 years old. A little older than a senior might be someone who is elderly. Seniors might still be active. They might still have a lot of energy, but when I hear elderly, I think that person is a little older. So it's a polite way to say someone is very old. Very old. See this person. He might be elderly. He might have a caretaker. We will talk about caretaker in just a minute. He still looks good though. He looks like an elderly man who is still in good health. I'm sure that man is retired. Do you know that term in English? Retired. That means no longer working because of age. My grandfather is retired and likes to fish. So now this person no longer has to go to work. They have more time to fish. I mentioned caretaker earlier. Caretaker. That is someone who takes care of a child or an elderly person. So the very young and the very old might need a caretaker. That is someone who watches out for them. We might also use that term. My aunt is the caretaker for my grandma. And in the picture, you can see this person does look quite elderly. They are using a walker to get around. That's what we would call that, a walker to help her walk. And she has a caretaker with her, someone who is taking care of her, someone who is there in case she falls. That person will be able to call for help if they need it. All right, now we get into family, society, and culture. And this might be my favorite term of the lesson, a boomer. A boomer. This is a nickname for people born after World War II. So these people are going to be very old. They are probably going to be in their late 70s or 80s or even older. Boomers. My grandma is a boomer and loves Elvis. Who doesn't love Elvis? Do you know Elvis? Is that just an American thing? Elvis? Okay, let's check the chat here. Okay, I'm only 23. Not feeling over the hill yet. Glad to hear that. 23. So you would be considered a young adult, I think. Next one. Boomer. Let's talk about age gap. Age gap. And in the picture, I have an English singer. His name is Mick Jagger, and I think next to him is his wife. There is quite an age gap between that couple. Age gap means the difference in age between two people. Some people think that older men, at least someone who is a boomer, Mick Jagger is what, 81, 82 years old, should not be dating someone that young. Maybe she is 30. Maybe she's in her 30s. That would be quite an age gap. So between my wife and myself, probably should take a sip of water here. There isn't much of an age gap. We are only like 3 months. I am 3 months older than she is. I'll hold the microphone away from my throat. I don't think you need to hear me swallow, right? That would be kind of gross, I think. Age gap, speaking of gross, some people think the age gap between Mick Jagger and his wife is a little gross. I think he's going to become a father, or he just became a father at like 82 years old. I don't know. What about role model? For some people, Mick Jagger might be a role model. I mean, that guy is 81, 82 years old, and he still dances around the stage like he's in his 40s or 50s. A role model is someone others look up to or want to be like. So this small child in the picture, it looks like his father is his role model. He's literally looking up to him. But when we say that someone is looking up to someone else, it means they want to be like them. A good teacher can be a strong role model for young people. Some people say athletes are role models. A lot of young kids want to be like athletes when they grow up. All right, we talked about age gap, generation gap. We talked about this twice, right? Is this on here twice? I think we did. Yeah, this is on here twice. All right, this is live. So we're talking about this. This is review. The difference in ideas between younger and older people. There is a big generation gap between me and my grandpa. Yeah, take a look at this picture. I like this because the grandfather is probably asking his grandson, like, hey, I just got a new computer. Can you help me set this up? When you get a new phone or you get a new computer, you have to set it up. You like have to get it ready to use. So technology is often a big thing when we talk about generation gaps. The next one, ageism. Oftentimes in English, when something ends in ISM, it's not a good thing. Ageism is not a good thing. That is unfair treatment based on someone's age. Excuse me. Unfair treatment based on someone's age. For example, if this man who, let's say he's 70, and maybe his family said, you can no longer drive. It's just too dangerous. That could be considered ageism. If you get older and you have to take your driver's license again just because of your age, that might be ageism. But here is a sentence that uses ageism. Ageism happens when older people are not hired for jobs. Yeah, they might look at a job applicant and they might see, ooh, this person is 60 years old. They are going to be retiring soon. We don't want to hire somebody that old. That would be ageism. Now, in the United States, this is true, and it's probably ageism. Airline pilots are forced to retire at age 65. That could be considered ageism. There's a guy I follow on YouTube. His name is Captain Steve. He often says it like Captain Steve. And he is an airline pilot. He is 64 years old and he has to retire later on this year. But he does some great YouTube videos talking about like recent crashes when it comes to airlines. All right, those are all my terms. Those are all my terms. We have 30 people watching. Hey, I know you. You are from Burma, I believe, right? Welcome. Okay. Age gap relationship looks okay. All right. So you don't mind if somebody much older and much younger are dating or are married as long as they're happy, right? Abbas, hello. How are you? Age, life, timeline, no matter which country. It's a common thing. Thanks, Jen. Good topic. Thank you. Thank you. 66, Jose from Colombia. 66 years old. Congratulations. I am 66 years old and I am retired. Okay, and now I am planning to visit some countries around the world. If you follow my other YouTube channel, American English with Brent, you know I also love to travel. This YouTube channel has allowed me to travel. So Jose, I would love to hear the countries that you want to travel to. I was in Colombia last year, but only for a layover. So my flight from Rio to Bogota, and then I went to Boston. So I was only in Colombia for a short time, maybe 3 or 4 hours, and I was very, very sick. I was fighting dengue fever. Not fun. Chris, long-time subscriber of the channel. Welcome, welcome. Jen says, ageism reminds me how the old will be taken care of. Yeah, sometimes we also have something called elder abuse. Elder abuse, and that is when older people, they are taken advantage of. They are not cared for by their caretakers just because people are mean. But yeah, that is a real problem. Hey, I have a sweatshirt from the DRC. It has the flag of the DRC. Kinshasa. Kinshasa is the capital of the DRC. not to be confused with the Republic of the Congo, where the capital is Brazzaville. Brazzaville. But I do have many students from the DRC, many students. Probably the most, yeah, it's either Angola or the DRC is where most of my students are from. And if they are from the DRC, they are probably French speakers. I think some also speak Lingala. All right, well, Fernando, I wonder if you are towards the Angolan border. Yeah. Some of my students are from, so they might actually speak Portuguese, but they live in the DRC right near Angola. So welcome. Very cool. Very cool. All right, I think that is going to do it for today. We did 25 terms or so in 40 minutes. Thank you all for joining. Hope you liked it. I might do this again in the near future, so be on the lookout. Also, if you would like me to be your speaking partner, there is a link. It does cost some money, but I think it will really help you with your English speaking. All right, I was waiting to see if Jose would say which countries he was looking forward to visiting, but maybe he left. Fernando, yeah. I do know, I hope you are on the Angolan side of the DRC. That would be the safer side. I know near Rwanda, is it M23 that are over there? At least that's what we say in English. Yeah, it can be a little scary. Yeah, a lot of violence going on in that side of the DRC. All right, it is that time. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to get out of here. Maybe Jose will leave his comment after I finish this live stream. Thank you so much for joining. Adios. Wait, hang on, Chris. What? Can I pronounce something? Could you pronounce the word huge like Trump? Yeah. Yeah, I used to do that, right? A couple years ago. Gonna be huge. Huge. Thanks, Chris. It's a good callback right there. Okay, now you're in Malawi. Okay, perfect. I think a little safer up there. Freddie Wolf, thank you so much. All right, it's going to do it.